The time is exactly 9:57 a.m. Our final interview for the day is with the Executive Manager for Social Innovation at OUTA, and that, of course, is you, Julian Kleynhans. We're looking at the situation, the dire situation of Gauteng reservoirs experiencing declining water levels. It's not bad enough that we're having a load shedding on a continuous basis. Our economy is almost at a standstill, and now we're being hit hard by this water crisis situation. And all I can say to you at OUTA is you guys should be running the country. Early on, and this is serious, honestly, this is serious stuff. Earlier on, I was speaking to Tessa Doom. She's a sociologist and a political analyst, and she says, unless and until people like, well, she didn't name OUTA, but I'm now talking to you, OUTA, unless and until people, civil society, and the OUTAs of this world don't come together and start taking over the ruling of the country, we are going to be broke in every sense of the word pretty soon. That's my long monologue and introduction for the morning on this show. A very good morning. Welcome. Your thoughts on what I've just said now?
Thank you, Julie. Privilege of speaking to you. Yeah, it's a very dire situation we're finding ourselves in. We've seen the political spats and infighting over the years at the detriment of good people in this country has really had a significant negative impact on our country. And you're so right. People have lost patience, but they also don't understand their power. That's why it's so important for us as civil society to take hands to become better organized in our very communities where we stay and start exercising our rights. We live in a democracy, and it is our rights that we need to protect in the same space. Freedom comes at a price and a big responsibility, and it's time that we start taking that up. We cannot stand and wait anymore to seeing how politicians play their roles, and it's becoming mafias and almost a gangster state where we see the infightings and our tax money is being looted. And unfortunately, we are all feeling the brunt of that, not necessarily the politicians at the top.
Oh, no, they don't feel the brunt. Their pockets are lined with our money, the taxpayers' money, all of the money that they've looted. Now we come to this other saga regarding the water situation. I've read somewhere that the dams are sitting at possibly 90% full. I'm talking about the Vaal Dam, which would suggest that we shouldn't be in the water crisis that we're experiencing here in Gauteng. I know OUTA always does its research and does it very, very thoroughly. What's the state of play? If the dams are full, why is it that we're suffering this water crisis?
Julie, I think the same principle applies to the whole country. It's not that we in a lack of water in our bulk water infrastructure like our dams at the moment. If you look at Gauteng, however, our municipalities and the infrastructure has been deteriorating quite significantly. And we've seen plans of additional water that was developed in about 2005, 2008. Where they spoke about, for instance, the Lesotho Highlands Water Project Phase 2, which should develop new water resources for the country, but also then give Gauteng, specifically the economic hub of the country, additional water resources. And that was supposed to give us that water in 2018. However, that dam's not built yet. So, we spoke about tax and we're speaking about demand, but that water will only start being supplied to Gauteng, say about 2028, 2029, at probably double the cost, where it would have cost 17 billion rand to give that water in 2018. It will probably be about 30 billion rand now. But the biggest problem we're facing now, and that's what the people are feeling at the moment, is twofold. One is the electricity demand. So with blackouts, we've seen pump stations and things being influenced, and water not necessarily coming to reservoirs that supply the community. But also the city of Johannesburg and Tshwane, they're touching on about 40% of water losses. So yes, I think infrastructure maintenance, water losses has been a significant effect. And yeah, we see the politicians saying that communities must use less water, and then it's hot. Yes, we have been in a heat wave. People are using more water, but that's not an excuse. Especially, Julie, just to close that remark, urbanization occurs. So every year, more people flocks to our cities, and that is where town planning and management must come into play. So they've got no excuse to say that we didn't see the influx in population growth and demand. So we need to create additional reservoirs and better pipes and maintain them to supply the additional demand. So now in the last 10 years, we've been seeing excessive population growth, but not additional water capacity. So everything to blame on bad administration and management.
Professor Turton has said that 50% of our water is being lost through obviously wastewater, through poor infrastructure maintenance, leaking pipes, etc., etc. He didn't say this recently. He said this probably way back in 2018. And the situation has exacerbated since then. I mean, Eskom is given a big blow to the entire country. Look how it's impacted on our water situation. Part of the fault sits with Eskom, but the other part is it seems that no one has taken responsibility for maintenance, and that is a very, very big issue. These politicians budget, the ministers and the municipalities, every year without fail, set aside X amount of monies to budget for all of these issues, very especially maintenance. It doesn't happen. Where's the money?
Absolutely, that's a big problem. Julie, you're so spot on. The lack of accountability is the big issue here, and that is where the political gangsterism has really broken the backbone of municipalities. A municipality is supposed to be run independently. The administration and accounting officer in a municipality is the municipal manager. Yet he's being instructed by a politician who's a mayor what to do, and he's appointed, and his salary is being paid, or her salary is being paid by that mayor, and that's where the political influence has just broken the whole mandate of the municipality, and that is to supply basic services. So that is where we as communities need to start standing our ground now and holding them to account and challenging them on that. And there's some technical methods of doing that, and there's very practical ways of doing it. But that money needs to be budgeted for, and we need to have oversight, because we cannot rely on councillor oversight, because we've seen what happens with that. So us as communities in our ward committee meetings and in our municipalities need to start exercising our rights. And the problem is not all of us have the expertise and the time. So that's why it's important for organized communities to be structured, and people actually being appointed or chosen to start addressing and having these oversight roles in communities. And then if you look at the budgeting cycles of municipalities, and specifically in Gauteng, there's not sufficient funds allocated to maintenance. We're seeing about 2 to 3, 4% of budgets being allocated, and the Treasury mandate or suggestion is actually benchmarked at 8%. So we're budgeting less to maintain more. And I must also just throw in the spanner in the works. One of the biggest problems that we've seen is that some of these institutions, or let's say the organized thugs in municipalities, are waiting for infrastructure to break so that they can have big capital projects, so that if there's an emergency situation, you don't have to follow all the tender processes, which means that the funds get allocated quickly and you can steal it, and then nothing happens anyway. We've seen it in Guyana, we've seen it in various places in the country. Big problems.
So nothing comes as a surprise any longer. Is there a way forward here? You talk about community, having strong community leaders taking up these issues and making the voices heard of the different communities. We know we're sitting with a mafia government at the moment, and I'm wondering, would we be able to break through? Or is it a situation of wait till 2024 and let the voters speak? I'm wondering if we can wait till 2024. Will we have a country left to even vote for and to save by 2024?
Julie, I think, even what your radio station stands for, I think, we need to do our little bit every day. There's no excuse for us as individuals not to step up and help. And, we need to get involved. That's the only way. We can exercise our votes. That's very important. But, my suggestion, and that's what we're doing at the moment from a social innovation point of view, we've developed a community action network. We're busy with that. And there's a platform, and folks can go see on can.org.za, so that communities can establish themselves and become better organized and create the means to sustain their efforts. But the change in this country needs to come from grassroots levels, and we need to become so well organized in communities that we elect the representatives in our communities that can act on our behalf, the people we know and trust who stay down the road, who we can hold to account and that we've known for a long time. And eventually these people need to become suitable candidates to stand as councillors or constituent representatives who might even be in parliament. I think the time of a political party coming to election time with a lot of promises and putting two faces on a ballot and saying you will vote for this person, whether you know them or not, I think that's coming to an end. And I think
And about
political
time.
parties know that. That's it.
And about time. Just in closing, and that, you speak about how we should be electing people to serve the communities and the country as a whole. That happens in other countries, and it happens very, very successfully. You start at grassroots levels, you serve your communities, and then you climb up the ladder, and that's the way it should happen. Finally, very quickly, the area that I live in, people are so sick and tired of the rolling blackouts and the water issues that there's suggestions that they should withhold their utility payments. I'm not sure if that's the way to go, because with a council or the municipalities, for them it's simple. They just flick a switch and then they cut you off. They leave you literally in the dark forever and a day. What else can we do? The community is suggesting collectively we withhold our utility payments. Do you think that could work?
Yeah, I think if you seek legal counsel, there might be situations where you can do that successfully, Julie. But there is some risk in it as well. I think firstly, it's not sustainable. So one has to do it for a short-term period and then have a more sustainable solution be put into place. And secondly, when it comes to civil disobedience, it has to be so well organized, because if some folks don't participate, there's a risk in that. But also, if some people just stop paying because of convenience, that's a different problem. But
Absolutely.
I think one has to look for all alternatives. But I can promise you that there's no short-term solution to this. So we need to think medium to long-term in whatever strategies we follow. But the first and most important thing is that communities need to become organized, structured, and they need to start participating in various disciplines so that they can affect the necessary change, and that will create the sustainability. And that's not a 5 to 5 year plan. So it doesn't mean who comes into power in 5 years. An organized community will have the power.
Absolutely. And may OUTA live as long as possible in every possible way, to take care of the people and to highlight all of these shenanigans of corrupt governments. Executive Manager for Social Innovation at OUTA, Julius Kleynhans, thank you indeed for your time on the show this morning. And all I can say is long live OUTA. You guys really give us hope. People like yourselves give us a lot of hope. Thank you. Go well and God bless.
Thank you so much. Same. Thank you, Julie.
11 after 10, time for me to wrap up. Thank you indeed for your time this morning. Hope you've enjoyed the interviews as much as we've enjoyed being with you in between all of our drama here with the rolling blackouts and the getting the generator on and then off and then on again. But we managed to pull the show together thanks to you. Up next, inshallah, is Juice 21 by Sheikh Ahmed Al-Ajmi. Thank you for your time. Till tomorrow morning at the same time as always. A big thank you to the production team. And it is Assalamu alaikum and Khuda Hafiz from me, Julie Ali.